Right, Andy XL here again, NFL XL podcast time. Right, 4 weeks done, and previously I've given you a sort of top and bottom view in my power rankings. After 4 weeks, I feel the season's kind of taking shape, so I've now got the full list of power rankings, and I'll briefly sort of give an explanation for where each team stands. But let's start at the bottom and work our way up. So who would I say at the moment is on course for the first overall pick in the 2026 draft? Well, guess what? Same as last year, Tennessee Titans fallen to 0 and 4, got blanked by the Texans. Just nothing positive to come out of that. So they're my bottom ranked team at the moment. Just above them are the Carolina Panthers. Um, Now, Bryce Young gave them reason for hope towards the end of last season, but they're beginning to look really bad again, and he got benched for Andy Dalton this week. So, not much to look forward to for the Panthers. In the same division, the New Orleans Saints, sorry, not yeah, the New Orleans Saints are now 0 and 4. They played well in some games, but 0 and 4 is 0 and 4, so they're down at 30. 29, the Cleveland Browns, great on defense, no offense, says it all. Um, just looking forward to getting to the 2026 draft and free agency window where they need to really just do everything they can to keep that defense and particularly the D line together, and then go and get some offense. 28, the Miami Dolphins, probably better than that, but they've lost Tyreek Hill for the season, and even though they beat the Jets this week, things don't look good for them going forward. Um, and above them are the team they beat, the New York Jets. But the Jets outplayed the Dolphins in pretty much every aspect last week. So there is some hope for them going forward. But they're another team that are now 0 4, so they're done for the season, basically. 26, New York Giants. Ray of Hope in Jackson Dart at quarterback played reasonably and did well in his first week in a game they won. But they've also lost a significant player this week at wide receiver. We all know about it. So, going forward, doesn't look good for them either without Malik Neighbours. 25, Las Vegas Raiders, flattering to deceive. They've got some nice young talent on there, particularly offensively, in terms of Aston Gionte and Brock Bowers, who are going to be good for years to come. Really good. Max Crosby on the D, obviously, is there, but Geno Smith, said it before, he's a high-end backup quarterback for me, not a starter. I know he's had some good years in Seattle, but he's beginning to show his weaknesses in Vegas. 24, the Dallas Cowboys, the inverse of the Cleveland Browns. Good on offense, no defense. And that's not a good way to go forward. So they're at 24. 23 are the Cincinnati Bengals, who are basically going downhill badly with Jake Browning at quarterback. If you watch my week 4 review, I'm speculating that they really need to do something quickly to address that quarterback situation. And if they don't, then their season's doomed, basically. 22, the Chicago Bears. Signs of hope for the Bears. They won again in this week. But there's still a long way to go for them. And in such a tough division, their chances of making the postseason are not great. So that puts them at 22. New England Patriots at 21. Well, they've got the Bills this week, and if they lose to them, the divisional title will surely disappear with it. Any hopes of that, which really were remote anyway. But they're still an outside shot at the postseason, so they're in at 21. The Atlanta Falcons bounced back with a good win this week. They're at 20. Bijan Robinson is an absolute star for them, but Michael Penix is beginning to look a bit inconsistent at quarterback, so that's why they're at 20. Good pass rush developing there, though. And another team with a good pass rush is the Houston Texans, but they need to sort their O line out if they're to continue to build on their win from last week. 1 and 3 now. They've got Baltimore this week, which is really a swing game for them. If they can win that one, then they're right back into things. If they lose it, then they're back in a hole. Arizona Cardinals are 18 and Seattle Seahawks at 17. Um, Similar teams, really. Got abilities. I like the Cardinals more than the Seahawks, if I'm honest, but they're one place below because they're one game behind them. So similarly, got a chance of making the postseason from the NFC, but they're not quite there yet. 16, the Jacksonville Jaguars, 3 and 1. They share the lead in their division, but Um, they still look like a team who are probably a bit fortunate to be 3-1 for me. So that's why I've got them in the middle of the rankings. 15, the Washington Commanders. Now, if they get Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin back, they'll move up this list. But if they don't get them back soon, they could move the other way. So on the edge of making the postseason at the moment. 14, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I really don't see him good enough to make the postseason, but the window of opportunity is open for them now that the Ravens and the Bengals are basically having such terrible injury news. So there's a big opportunity for the Steelers to make the postseason, which preseason I said they wouldn't do, but things are falling in place for them to do it now. But I'm still not convinced by them. Bit similar with the Denver Broncos at 13, good win this week over a bad Bengals offense. Um, but they still need to show me more. But now they're back in the wild card race in the AFC for certain. 12, the Minnesota Vikings, a bit similar to the Broncos. Um, but they need to get JJ McCarthy back at some point. Although the quarterback's been doing reasonably well, Carson Wentz filling in. But yeah, got the receivers there now. Got a defense that can play well, but they're in that division with Detroit and Green Bay. So they really need to keep playing well. 11 now. I've dropped the Baltimore Ravens to 11, but this is real conjecture because nobody knows what's going to happen with the Lamar Jackson situation. If he's not available, given their defensive injuries, like the Texans, this week could be really swing for them going one way or other in these rankings. But for now, I've got them at 11, and I think they'll still find a way to make the postseason, assuming Jackson's hamstring injury isn't going to keep him out for a real long time. 10, the Indianapolis Colts lost this week. Daniel Jones threw a couple of picks. Wasn't awful though. Jonathan Taylor continues to play really well. I still see him as a better team than Jags, which is why I've got them at 10, and I think they'll carry on, get them back on track and win that division eventually. 9, the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, 2 bad weeks for them, and that's worrying. Drops them to 9 and could drop them further if they don't get back on track soon. San Francisco 49ers, they lost this week. Still well in that NFC West race, though. And if they get fully healthy, they'll be a team to threaten most later in the season. 7, the Kansas City Chiefs getting right back on track, but I've still got them below the Los Angeles Chargers are at 6 because the Chargers are still ahead in that divisional race. But the Chiefs are right back on track now. And if they can build on that momentum, they'll jump the Chargers and get right back up towards the top of this list. The Chargers, like I say, they've got all those injury issues on the O-line. But if they could get their O-line healthy, they're still the ones in control of that division. 5, go across LA to the LA Rams, who I see as the best team in the NFC West, which is a pretty good division as well. You know, when you consider no teams below 500 in that division. So they're looking good. They've got a good young defense. It's still got Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, so plenty there for them to hope for. 4, no, they were my number 1 prior to this week, but they've dropped to 4. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are so badly beat up at the moment. They need to get healthy if they're not to avoid falling further down this list. But they played with credit and fought back well against the Eagles in defeat. So I still like their chances if they can get healthy. 3, Buffalo Bills, clearly the best team in the AFC right now, well on track for a divisional title and top seeding. So it looks like any AFC team wanting to make the Super Bowl is going to have to go through Buffalo. If they continue playing well, they're the ones that are favourites to make the Super Bowl from the AFC. Number 2, the Detroit Lions, who are probably the team in best form at the moment, really coming together nicely. But they're behind the top team in my rankings, the Philadelphia Eagles, having lost in week 1 to the Packers. So, you know, their route to the Super Bowl is via Philadelphia, and that would be tough because both those teams look really, really good now. I mean, if that was an NFC Championship game, it'd be a great one to watch. But they're my power rankings at the end of this week. Now, that took me 10 minutes, so I'm going to squeeze in a look at the MVP now, and then Offensive Rookie of the Year as well. Right, Let's do these in reverse order as well. My top 10. 10, Bijan Robinson, the running back at Atlanta. He's had 584 scrimmage yards, 2 touchdowns, has had a fumble. He's had 340 yards rushing. So he's on target for just shy of 2,500 scrimmage yards and 8 or 9 touchdowns this season. Now that yardage will be north of what Saquon Barkley achieved last year, and look what credit he got. He doesn't have the touchdowns that Barkley had last year, so if he's really to get into this MVP race, he needs to start scoring more often. But with Michael Penix looking a bit flaky at quarterback, Robinson is clearly now well, he was obviously the best player on that Falcons team. He's potentially the best player in the league, but that doesn't necessarily get you MVP awards, particularly if you're not a quarterback. So that's why he's at 10. Another running back at 9, that's Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. Slightly fewer scrimmage yards than Robinson by 57 at 527, but he's got 4 touchdowns on the board and hasn't fumbled. 414 of those yards have come on rushing, so that's 100 more than Robinson. Now, he would be on target for 2,240 scrimmage yards, which is pretty similar to what Barkley achieved last year, but would at the moment get 17 touchdowns, which would be more than Barkley had last year. So with Daniel Jones having thrown a couple of picks this year, a bit like Robinson and Penix in Atlanta, Taylor and Danny Dimes, similar discussion. But for me, I would go for the running back. So them are 2 running backs that I've got in. Then we move on to quarterbacks. Number 8 is Jaden Daniels from Washington. Now, obviously, he's hurt at the moment. So his production's not great on 2 games, 433 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, less than 60% completion percentage, which isn't great. He's not done a huge amount on rushing, either 85 yards. But if he got back healthy and turned that Washington season around and got them to overhaul Philadelphia in that division, he'd be right in the wild card mention. 7, sliding down this week, is Justin Herbert. 1,063 passing yards, so he's one of 2 in this list over 1,000 yards already passing. 7 touchdowns, but he has thrown 3 picks now, and his completion percentage is down to 63.8. So he's falling a bit at the moment, and the Chargers. The first thing for him is they need to win that division ahead of Kansas. Otherwise, he's got no chance of winning his MVP. 6 is Matthew Stafford. More passing yards than anybody else, 1,114. 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 67.6 completion rate, which is pretty good. Now, the Rams, like Herbert in the other side of LA, he has to win his division first and foremost, and then they really need to go on a big winning streak if he's to get right at the top of this list. But number 6 for me at the moment. Number 5, Jared Goff has had 929 passing yards, 9 touchdowns so far already, and 2 interceptions, and an impressive 73.8% completion percentage. Now, again, for him to win this, Detroit probably need to get past Philadelphia and win the 1 seed in the NFC, but that keeps him at 5 at the moment. 4 dropping down, the now hamstrung Lamar Jackson, 869 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, which is more than anybody else, 1 interception, and an impressive 71.6 completion rating. Rushing yards are actually a bit down, 166 and 1 touchdown. And if he's got a hamstring problem, that's probably not going to increase. So he's dropped down to 4. And unless he gets back in action, Baltimore season could fade. That could see him drop right out of contention in this. Up to 3 is Patrick Mahomes. 939 passing yards, 7 touchdowns and a pick, 61.3% completion rate. And that's not great if you think about it. And he's thrown in and he's added 130 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. But he's single-handedly carrying that. Not single-handedly, but he's doing the heavy lifting for the Chiefs offense at the moment. And what he's got them back in the race with a really limited receiver core. So, Mahomes is Mahomes, and he's been terrific again. So he's at 3. 2 above him are Jalen Hurts. Very modest passing yardage, 609, but he's and 5 touchdowns. But he's very accurate, 69.3 completion. But it's on the ground where 179 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. With the Eagles 5-0, that puts him firmly in contention. But his team might be 5-0, but Josh Allen is top of the pile at the moment. The Bills are 5-0. Allen's played brilliant. 964 passing yards, 7 touchdowns and a pick, over 70% completion rating, 159 rushing and 3 touchdowns. So for me, Allen's well ahead at the moment. So that's the MVP race as I see it. Let's get on to Offensive Rookie of the Year. Again, quickly go from 10 upwards with some stats. 10 just making this list is Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt at Washington. He's had 187 yards and 2 touchdowns. But if he's really to get in contention to win this award, needs to establish himself as the standout running back one at Washington. Bit of a similar picture with RJ Harvey at running back at Denver at 9. He's had 207 yards and a touchdown, but he's got to get past J.K. Dobbins to be the lead running back at Denver before he can really be considered as an option to win this award. 8 is another running back, Quinshon Judkins at Cleveland, playing well on a bad team. 281 yards and 2 touchdowns, really credit worthy. And if he continues to produce at that rate, he might climb this list depending on how others do. 7 is the only one of 2 wide receivers in this list, I should say. Ted McMillan at Carolina, like Judkins, playing well on a bad team with 278 yards, but yet to register a touchdown, which is something he has to change if he's to really put himself in the frame for this award. 6 is one of 2 New York Giants on this list, and it's Cam Skattebo, the running back. A real cult hero already. I loved him coming out of college. He's so all in with his playing style. It's brilliant. And that celebration, the backflip from somebody of his physical stature is incredible to see. 279 yards and a touchdown. I love this guy. So he's in the race here, but he needs to keep going on those numbers. And potentially he's been put in a bad position because the quarterback, Jackson Dart, is now in the starting position. So if Dart plays well for the Giants, that probably puts him ahead of Scatterboot. There's no stats really on Dart because he's only had 1 start. But if he continues to play well for the Giants, he's going to be a major contender for this award. Right, number 4, probably the favourite to win this pre-season was Aston Gionte, the Las Vegas running back. Now, he's beginning to really click in now. He's had 302 yards and 4 touchdowns. So, Gionte's on the up. And if he keeps going, could well end up as a real challenger for this award. As is the last running back that I've got on this list, one of 6 running backs in my top 10. So a really strong running back class has come out this year. It's Amarian Hampton at the LA Chargers, who's topping Gionte in production at yardage-wise at 380, but only has 2 touchdowns. So they're pretty similar start to the season the two have had, but I've just got Hampton above Gionte at the moment because his team's doing better, and that tends to stand you in good stead. And now with Najee Harris out the way there, he's going to get a lot more workload this year. 2 is the only tight end, Tyler Warren. Now, I know Colston Loveland's hurt, so maybe I'm being harsh, but I thought Warren was by far and away the best tight end in this class, and he's showing it so far. Not only has he produced 263 yards, I know he hasn't got a score, but he's been terrific as a blocking tight end as well. Now, I need a quick drink because my throat's about to start going. Before I get to number 1. Now, this is the only guy that's really emerged as the clear leader on his team. I mean, it's amazing what he's done. Emeka Egbuka at Tampa Bay. I know Mike Evans has got hurt, but even before he got hurt, Egbuka was like the go-to guy already for Baker Mayfield, it seems. 291 yards and 4 touchdowns, having an amazing start to the season and well on course to win Offensive Rookie of the Year for me so far. So that's a look at my power rankings, MVP and Offensive Rookie of the Year. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll try and update that on a weekly basis. But that's it from me for now. See you soon.